Lost and Found Behind the Book. Conversations all about the makings of Lost and Found, finding the power in your voice.
Who's joining? Hey! Oh, awesome. Welcome, you all. Welcome, everybody, to Lost and Found Behind the Book. This is our first launch of, yes, there's the book. Oh, see, that's good. I don't even have the book. Like, I'm so crazy. Yeah. This is our first conversation about Lost and Found, my creative memoir, about finding your voice and telling your own unique story. And I invited a special guest today who knows a lot about this book. So I'm just going to go ahead and start because, you know, it's going to be a casual convo. Yay, hearts. Thank you. Good morning. Nikolai Moderbacher, I don't have a bio that I'm reading. I'm going to make one up. Nikolai Moderbacher is a early childhood music teacher. He is a sculptor. He's a wood artist. He is a father, a husband, a son. He is also a baker and an awesome short order cook. I also like to say that you're just a general fixer. Whenever there's something that needs to be done, he likes to get in there and try and help and fix it. And also a beta reader. So for those of you who don't know what a beta reader is, that's basically somebody who's invited to read or look at your manuscript during the early stages of the process, or once you finally got a working manuscript of your book, you want some feedback. And so Nikolai was one of several super generous people, because you have to be willing to kind of go through and answer some questions, who looked at my manuscript once it was complete, before publishing, before editing, and gave me feedback about it. So, and he's also my husband, for those of you who don't know. So I thought, and I thought that, in fact, as our very first conversation about Lost and Found, honestly, it would be really good to talk to you, because you were the closest to seeing the process for me of making this book. And I'm sure that there were probably things that you noticed that I don't even realize that you noticed. So I wanted to talk about that today, and anything else that comes up related to the voice or art, creativity. But before we do, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, because I know you might have some questions for me. You might have some reveals about me during this. But so, you know, for those of you who have read the book or are considering reading it, I've organized it into 3 sections about the voice, as, you know, and this has come to me over years of teaching voice and just my own practice. And so it's organized in these 3 subheadings. The first one is your intuitive voice. And then the second one is your sonic voice, or the sound of your voice. And then the last one is your artistic voice. And so I wanted to start today with you, Nikolai, asking you, he's like, what are you going to ask me? Exactly. Right. When you think about the idea of your intuitive voice or your intuition, yeah, I'm curious, for you, can you think of like a time that you first were aware of your intuitive voice or your intuition? And this could be a first time, or it could even be last week. Like, how do you know when your intuition or your intuitive voice is talking to you? Like, does it have a sound? Is it a feeling? Is there a memory you have from being young, like when you connected with your intuition or inner voice?
I think, wow, okay. Yeah. All right, so I want to back up for a second. So to me, those 3 categories mean intuitive voice. Another, I guess, another way to say it, or the way I would say it, would be your inner voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your artistic voice, the voice that you use to express out into the world. That I use to express out into the world. Whereas, and then the sonic voice, your third category, is sort of the physical voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the intuitive and artistic being, to me, more conceptual construct,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the sonic being just kind of what is actually the sound, that actual
Mm-hmm.
sound that comes out.
Yep.
In terms of my intuitive voice, if you hear any little roof roof, that's our dog Pony. You're supposed to be quiet, Pony. No. Shh. All right. I always felt like I've had a very strong intuitive voice, but I don't feel like I never thought of it as making a sound per se. So right, it's a feeling. It's like in my gut. It's a feeling. It's a churning. It's a or if it's a bad thing, it's a churning, and it's like a kind of a nauseous almost feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's different, but I don't remember like a specific incident, but I do get strong feelings when I meet people.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Usually it's about people.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then the ones that are more memorable are usually the negative. But I think that's just kind of the human condition. We remember,
Right.
bad, dangerous things more than we remember joyous or opportune things. So yeah, that's kind of that would be my answer. Like it's a gut, and it's like something's not right. This isn't okay. This person. It's always about being like sort of two-faced. Right? This person says this, but they're really gonna do this. Or they're really conniving or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's
I also
how I
just
voice.
I love that you actually made a sound.
Yeah.
When you're describing, right? Like actually when we, sort of one could vocalize what a feeling feels like, but that's like a whole other extended part of our conversation.
I guess.
Yeah. And then, okay, so that's what you have for, your intuitive voice. When you think about your sonic voice and the sound of your voice, and because you teach,
Yeah.
I mean, you've been teaching for many years, right?
Yeah.
Like, you taught, yes, go ahead.
No, almost 20.
Right. Almost 20 years, and then before, like right before we met, which was 20 years ago, you also taught early childhood, bilingual kindergarten. So you've been like teaching a lot, right? And you teach now specifically music. And so I just wonder, and you also have a children's band and you have a puppetry show. And
Yeah.
how do you think about the sound of your voice?
It's funny. I mean, you gave me a little prep email, and do I think about my voice? I think the one thing that came to mind with my voice was that my voice is like a workhorse. My voice like doesn't fail. Like it just doesn't fail me. Like and I have to be loud. I'm sort of singing over whatever's going on with 20 people in the room, and it just kind of doesn't fail me. Even, I mean, obviously, if I get sick and I lose my voice, that's a different thing. But I don't really like lose my voice from just overuse.
Yeah.
To the point where sometimes I'm curious if I would. But so let's say I booked like a Broadway show and I had to perform 6 times. What are they? No, they do more. They do 8 times a week at full throttle. Would I lose my voice?
Yeah.
Like I would. Kind of like I could do that. I don't know if it's true, but that's.
It would be an interesting challenge for you to see,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a.
Yeah. In terms of the quality, like because your question made me think that too. Like, what do I think of my voice? I don't think it's like. I don't think it's anything to write home about. I think it's just the solid, basic voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some
Mm-hmm.
and you go, wow, what is going? They could sing, you know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and you would find it super interesting, intriguing. I don't think my voice is like that. I think it's basic, solid, strong. It's functional.
Yay! Johannes and Eileen are here. Oh, yay. Well, it's kind of funny that you would say that you think of your voice like a workhorse, and that, thank you, commenting about Return to Gore, that you would say it's like a workhorse and that you feel it's pretty basic. It's like, it sounds like you want it to be able to deliver and do a job. It's able to serve a bigger purpose. So maybe that's like enough for you, right? Because you just really, it's more about a job that you want it to do than about like the nuances, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's super interesting because, as you know, like I've been teaching voice for almost 20 years, and I only in recent years have realized that really the reason that I'm into vocal technique and like why I became a vocal technique geek is really because I've always been interested in the tone that I can produce and the tone, you know, like the quality of my voice. And I don't think that there's any right or wrong, but it's like, it's weird that it's taken me so long to feel.
Yeah. Oh, I lost your sound. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Ring.
Right.
But yeah, so that was kind of part of why I was curious about that. Okay, so then what about your artistic voice? When you think about your artistic voice in the world, how does it display itself? How does it express itself?
Yeah. So, you know, as you mentioned, I also do sculpture and so woodworking, and I mean that's actually where I have my sort of college education, and you know, but it's also like in just living in New York and trying to make a living and et cetera. I don't really, I'm not like a full-time visual artist, because ironically I made my day job music. You know, I found another art form to make as a day job to pay the bills, but um, so I do feel like my artistic voice in terms of the visual sculpture and stuff has been a little subdued. It's a little, I don't know that I have like full confidence with it, you know. And I think about that a lot when when I watch performing artists, but also, you know, when I see visual artists work, I'm like, you know, there's always this question: how do you know that a piece is done, especially in the abstract art world? Like, and you just have to know, and a lot of that comes with experience and confidence, and also a certain, you know, amount of just saying, like, fuck it, I'm done. I can't put any more energy into this. Like, anything else. But there's a lot of confidence that I feel like I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, yeah,
Because,
yeah.
like at one point in my life, I'm gonna have a more developed visual arts practice, a more committed visual arts practice, where I really can commit more hours to it. And it might mean retirement age, but
Right.
I'm all right with that. It's actually okay. Yeah.
Do you, but well, and you're talking, I love that you're talking about your artistic voice in relation to your visual art.
Yeah.
What about when it comes in relation to your music, like the kids' albums that you put out, or even your recent project, Puppetry Theater, like this puppet project, Nico and Gigi?
Yeah.
You know, do you think of that as a version of your artistic voice too?
I do think of it as an artistic voice. It's in that case, it's much more related to. It's just much more because I think that field is more practical in a sense because you're working with or on small children. Way more like responsibility in terms of, you know, the feeling of responsibility in terms of presenting material that age appropriate, but also that, you know, guides them to what I goal should be with little kids, which is create independent, strong individuals, you know, be adults in society, right? And sort of all the kind of that go into that. So there's maybe my artistic voice there is more aware of, like, am I doing something that's sort of morally correct? Am I saying something that's sort of like productive?
Okay.
Because the
Yeah.
is the age that it is, and that's should be our goal, kids, right?
Right.
Like that world is like less, in a way, as an artist, it's less me, right? It's less I fulfill my ego. It's like I really have to think about that. In the visual arts, I make a piece, and that's the piece. Deal with it.
Yeah.
But like, you know, not gonna make a sculpture for a kid that's like wildly inappropriate. I wouldn't.
Yeah. It's like the audience really determines, how you show up.
Yeah.
Right. And like with your visual art, it, like you said, that is a good way of explaining it. It is fully representative of you.
Yeah.
And so, that's interesting. Okay, well, I want to switch gears, and thank you all for sharing in the chat. I don't know if you can see that Steph is saying relatable and understandable, and that's great. Thank you all. So I wanted to give you a little bit of space too to ask some questions for those of you, maybe you've read the book, or if you wanted to get some ideas about the book. And again, we're talking about Lost and Found, Finding the Power in Your Voice, my creative memoir that just came out last July. And I'm here with Nikolai Moderbacher, and we're just talking about things about the voice and behind the book.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any questions about the making of the book at all. For me.
For you?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you know, I live with you, so
I know.
many of my questions have been answered.
Except you're still wondering, though.
I didn't say they've been answered satisfactorily.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, first of all, I want to say, like, you know, to anybody listening, but to you mainly, like, congratulations. You wrote a book. Like, this is a book. This is a real book, you guys. This is no joke. I've had moments in my life where I said, I'm going to write a book about my life. And I didn't get past like a half a page. Writing is a beast in itself. And it's just so admirable to me that you followed through and did it. So my main question, if I had a question for you, it would basically be that, how do you, so it's a little bit unrelated to the topic, but more about like the creation process. Like, how did you like just have the gumption, the stamina, the commitment, and to follow through? I mean, this is like, what is it, 300 pages, whatever it is. Like, to me, it's mind-boggling. And then I have some other things to say too, but I want to hear that.
Yes. I want to hear your questions. How did I do it? Well, you know, I didn't think I was going to do it. And then the pandemic happened. Like, I used to think that maybe I would write a workbook for type of book on the voice.
Yeah.
I thought at some point in my life, I feel like I've been teaching voice. I'm going to create some kind of workbook for folks. And that still might happen. But, you know, I thought that would be the book that I might write. And then the pandemic happened. And honestly, this came out of, it's like funny to say, it came out of writing social media posts and seeing how much they were resonating with people. And I was like, I could actually kind of, you know, I could actually like elaborate on this even more, you know? And so I just started writing longer and longer chunks. And I eventually joined a writing group. And that also was a lot of what helped me to stay with it, you know?
Yeah. So you didn't, but you did have moments where you were like, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. Or not?
No, not so much. Because I wasn't, you know, I gotta say, like, maybe now he's frozen. Oh yeah, because I gotta say, like, I was really quite enjoying slash in the process, like what we always talk about in the arts, like just be in the process. And it was only, you know, as I was getting towards the end that I was starting to think, okay, starting to think about the product and starting to get a little bit more concerned about like how I want it to look and how who I want it to reach. And
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed the process that I wasn't too worried about it. And that really helped me change my head about how I want to think about music in a similar way too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was gonna talk about, I mean, I don't know if this is a question, but I mean, you know this, like, so for example, like one of my favorite pieces in here is the roller skating, right? And it's great and it flows wonderfully and it's nice, it's a beautiful poem, but it also just reminds me of, like, you know, stories that you tell about your child. And you know that I talk about, I think of your child just being very, very different than mine. Because it seems to have been so free form. You know, I joke that at some point a documentary about you and some of your peers called, you know, the children of the avant-garde, right?
Yes.
Like the downtown New York music and art scene in the, I guess, 70s and 80s was this like really free form, free jazz performances with dancers improvising and da da da, and people, right, people painting on clothes and what, like, just so wide open and so just so the avant-garde. And yes, that talked about. but of course the way it's, you know, applied in my life is that I'm married to a child of that. That group of artists, they had kids. They sort of applied the same rule,
Yes.
to child rearing as they did to which is, which in my opinion is too wide. It's too wide. Kids benefit and often crave some boundaries, some, to know where the line, where the boundaries are, you know.
Yeah.
um and in this book, I mean, I'm just, that's the things that, you know, I guess also because I'm your husband and I'm
Yeah.
just a different, more personal relationship with you, but those are the things that pop out to me because it's just like, yeah, man, the children of the avant-garde. What's so cool about it is that everybody I've met, your peer group, lives right on the edge of flipping into, like, this is how I think of flipping into the zone, right?
Yeah.
Like those of your peers that are out there, you know, this 1 minute and the 2 seconds later they're a completely different person because they live right on the edge of the, like, and they grew up right there, and I just find it a fascinating thing. My question, if there's a question there,
Yeah.
is, are you aware of that as you go through your life? As you go through, as you meet people, as you meet maybe other artists, you see how they deal with the creative process,
Yeah.
whether you see that it's different because, like, maybe they came from the household with like an accountant and a doctorate or whatever, you know, where you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do. Yeah. I am aware of it. And I think I'm aware of it sometimes, maybe more through teaching, like teaching adults, I guess, you know, and seeing that, and you and I talk about this a lot, like we become adults and it's like you know, many people let go of that sort of kooky, wacky, playful
Yeah.
side that all you have to do is step out on the sidewalk and look at a 4-year-old and just like anything they're doing could just be like totally wacky, like playing with a puddle, making a weird face, making a weird sound, jumping up and down, like whatever it is.
Right.
And yes, I can easily step into that at any moment.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, you know, through teaching, when I like invite many students to kind of go into that playful space, hey, not when I ask them to go into that playful space, there's hesitancy. They're like self-conscious. They're a little bit, and I have to kind of like, it's okay. Come on, come on
Yeah.
through. Come
Yeah.
on back to you,
Yeah.
basically, and that was part of the impetus for writing the book, was like, we shouldn't let that go. Life is really rough,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of hard edges to life. And
Mm.
I think part of what makes it softer and more enjoyable, and what helps us to age gracefully, everybody's talking about aging. It's like,
Yeah.
it's to actually be able to like slide into that playful zone, so that the hard life stuff can kind of like move through you, or bounce off, or slide off a little bit more easily. And I think it's a way to help us to process what we're supposed to process, which is that life is hard and there is a ton of suffering. But it's like, how do we play with that? How do we dance with
Right.
that?
And
Yeah.
also, what's so funny, because part of why I bring this up too, is that book, this book in itself is an example of exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you didn't sit down and write like, this is a workbook,
Right. Right.
or this is a book of poetry,
Yeah.
or this is a book of essays, or this is a book of biographical fiction or whatever, or nonfiction. This is all of that. It's like, it's so fitting of you, and also of the sort of the scene that this,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's some poetry, there's some song. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's such a
That's
perfect.
awesome. That's awesome.
Right.
Well, I know that we are coming up on time. I don't know if anybody has a question that they want to ask, but I see the hearts. Thank you all for being here. I saw Matt Katz-Bowen, and I'm like afraid to touch my screen because I feel like I might I might like end something. But if anybody has a question, we can try and answer. Hopefully we can read it, if we can see it. I might have to see it because Nikolai, he's at the point where he might need his glasses.
Oh, oh, ooh.
And if not, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us on our first episode of Lost and Found Behind the Book.
And the book.
Please make sure to, you can find the book in my bio. You can buy a copy.
Yes.
Can I read an excerpt? Oh, you were so sweet. Sure, I can. I have it here. And I wonder if I should I read a little excerpt of Roller Skates?
Yes, please.
Since Nikolai brought up this poem. So this poem, I didn't put it officially in the book. I'm looking at my electronic version. Yay, Jessica. I didn't put it in the actual book, but this is really in honor of friendship. So, for all of you, think about a friend that you played with when you were young. I'm turning pages as I'm talking. And when I was little, Nikolai was talking about my peer group. One of my friends, Savannah, who is a wonderful singer, Savannah, and based in Berlin. She and I grew up together along with Ruomi, and her mother is a wonderful, incredible singer, Jean Lee. And we used to roller skate together. That was like our hang. So this is really in honor of Savannah and our childhood, and also just young friendship, that buddy that you always would kick it with. So this is roller skates.
But you shared a pair of roller skates.
We shared a pair of roller skates. We did not have our own, just so you know.
Per person.
Yes. So whenever we would meet, Savannah and I would get on the phone, and she'd say, should I bring the roller skates? And it was like, of course, like no question. And so she would come over with the roller skates and untie them, and she would wear one and I would wear one, and we would ride them like skateboards. So, you'd have one foot and then you'd push the ground with the other, and then you'd put your foot on top.
That also, by the way, makes me feel really old, because if I did that, that would happen to me.
Oh my God.
I mean,
terrible, terrible thing. Okay, so I'll just read a page or so of roller skates. If you want the magic elixir to life, if you want to stay forever young, girl, put your roller skates on. Freedom can be found on the ground, riding against traffic on 2nd Avenue. Freedom is the sound and glide of tiny plastic wheels talking over concrete. Not two, but one roller skate. The power is in the step of your right and the push off of your left. Slip on one roller skate, lace up, strings reaching for the sky. Make sure to bring a close friend, cousin, confidant. Include collected change gathered from dishes and piggy banks, spilled copper in between the planks of your and her apartment floor, forgotten pieces in pockets and left in corners. Put this together with your favorite sunglasses and make your way to any pizza parlor, Miss Pac-Man, and Prana, your favorite local health food store. Supply yourself with all kind of superfood for your spiritual transport magic carpet ride.
Yes.
Yes.
I can see you.
Yes.
Little tiny skinny Pyeng.
Those are good times.
Doing this is so important right now.
Oh.
We gotta get to the health store. We gotta get our sesame honey candy, right? Now we gotta get over there. We gotta go.
Counting our change.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good times. Good times, you know. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Nikolai, for being here for the first episode. Thank you all for joining us so that we could feel you with us in the conversation. Again, I will be doing these for the next, all the way through the year, leading up to the launch of my audiobook. So this will be an audiobook. It's going to be launching in the fall. But every month I'll be having a conversation with a different person who is connected to the process of this book being birthed. And it'll be every second Friday. So the next one will be May 10th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram Live. You can find the book in my link. Go to pyengnyc.com. You can order it online. And please follow Nikolai Moderbacher. You can check out his artwork, his sculptures. If you have young children or know somebody with young children, follow Nico's Kids to find out about early childhood music classes. And thank you, Jake. Thank you, Anat. And have a great rest of your Friday. Take care. Bye.